Good evening. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Sharon Samra and I will be interviewing two political candidates. On the left, we have Lauren Bretz, who identifies herself as a Republican, and on the right, we have Richard Torrisi, who identifies himself as a Democrat. So Lauren, why are you a Republican?
Well, I identify myself as a Republican because I'm very fiscally conservative, and I believe that the invisible hand that was present in Adam Smith's book dictates natural equilibrium. Also, I'm socially more liberal than most Republicans because I believe that tradition should not play a significant role in politics.
Great. Why do you identify yourself as a Democrat?
Well, my beliefs are that the private sector does not properly allocate resources to all those who need it, and that a welfare state is kind of necessary for all those poverty-stricken Americans who need the aid that it can provide to be given to them.
So now that we're talking about aid and welfare, what do you think about George Bush?
Well, there were many things wrong with his administration, in my opinion. The biggest of which, I believe, was the war in Iraq, which his administration waged. It was not only a poor decision, but also one based on lies. As well, another thing was his tax cuts, which I found really did take away the crucial aid that the poorer Americans needed.
All right, so as a Republican, is there anything you agree with or disagree with, with President Obama?
Well, I do applaud Obama for his commitment to bipartisanship, and I'm extremely pleased that he decided to extend the Bush tax cuts. However, I think that he needs to focus less on the small, minuscule issues and focus more on the big issues because I do think that he will be a one-term president because of the current economic climate.
Now, why do you support the Bush tax cuts?
Well, I support the Bush tax cuts because I believe that money should be kept in the people's hands, and I believe that the bureaucracy that deals with the taxes is very inefficient.
And you're a Democrat. What do you disagree with when it comes to the Obama administration?
Well, I believe he is doing a good job. However, he needs, in my opinion, to stop making so many concessions to the conservative Republicans.
Right.
And he needs to focus more on preserving the ideals of our party and the platform that he represents.
So now that we're talking about platforms and disagreements, so what is your opinion on the war in Iraq?
Well, America really did not have the right in the first place to invade Iraq.
Right.
And I still believe there are too many soldiers in that country who are pretty much throwing away their lives for no justifiable cause, and that they need to come home as soon as possible.
And what is your belief on the war of Iraq? I mean, George Bush really suffered his approval ratings. They consider it a very unpopular decision on his part. So what is your opinion?
Well, I do agree with part of what Richard said. We did erroneously enter into the war on Iraq, and it was founded on lies. However, I believe that we've destabilized Iraq to the point where we can't withdraw without completely causing a collapse of their governmental institution. So I think that we need to rectify that by creating stability before we withdraw.
So now that we're talking about wars and we're talking about all these, bipartisan things and partisan things, we're going to go into the social issues. Abortion. What is your view on abortion as a Democrat?
Well, the way abortion is handled now is the way I believe it should be handled as well in the future. If people have a justifiable cause for their abortion, I believe that they should be allowed to go through with it. They shouldn't have to suffer with the mistakes or dumb decisions of others who choose to harm them.
And what about your beliefs? What are your beliefs?
Well, personally, I'm a very ardent Christian, and I believe that all children are God's children. And Jesus died on the cross to give us our rights, alleviate us of our sins. But even for those non-religious people or people of other religions, the children that are killed in abortions are still human beings, and they have every right to live despite the mistakes of adults.
So now that you mentioned you're a really religious person, what is your belief in what religion should play in the government? Like, what role does religion have in the government?
Personally, I think that it is okay for Christianity and Islam and any other religion or atheism to influence your political beliefs, but I don't believe that it should influence legislation because of the Establishment Clause in the Constitution that pretty much clearly dictates that religion shouldn't have a strong role in government or any role at all, depending on how you interpret it.
And what do you think? What role does religion play in the government?
Well, I do agree with what Lauren said. The separation of church and state really does dictate that there should be no religion at all in our government. We're a country of too many different religions from too many backgrounds. In order to favor one, that would be passing laws that do not help or benefit all of American society.
Alright, so now that we're talking about separation of church and state, what is your opinion on gay marriage? Because a lot of people who oppose gay marriage use religion as a means to justify their being against gay marriage. What is your opinion?
Well, from a society standpoint, America is the land of the free, and this country is based on equality. I believe that homosexuals have the same rights as anyone else in this country, including the right to be married to whoever they choose.
What's yours? What are your views as a religious person?
Well, from a Christian standpoint, homosexuals should not get married in the eyes of God. However, I do believe that religion should not dictate legislation, and therefore I disagree with most Republicans, and I ardently believe that homosexuals should have the right because, as Richard said, this is the land of the free, and they have equal rights under the law.
Alright, so taking this into consideration, what is the biggest issue in America today? Economically, socially, politically, what is, in your opinion, Richard, the biggest problem?
Well, I believe the issue of health and healthcare in America is probably the biggest issue facing this country today. Among all the sovereign, industrialized countries in this world, America consistently ranks dead last in terms of its healthcare and being able to provide healthcare to its citizens. For a free country as large and big as this, I believe that healthcare should be readily available to all who need it.
Okay, and what is your opinion on the biggest problem facing the United States today?
I think that our economic future is the biggest problem facing the United States today. I believe that we're at an era of a middle ground, and this middle ground has become shaky, and it's not a time for compromises anymore. America either needs to shift back to its conservative roots or follow the European example and become a welfare state.
Well, that's also a good point. Well, thank you both for coming today. You both made really good points, and I think it's time to realize that when it comes to politics, it's not always as black and white. There's always gray spots. There are pro-gay Republicans, as you are, and there's also pro-life Democrats. So I know it's overset, but united we stand, divided we fall. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Merry Christmas to you and Happy Holidays.